It's nice to feel closer to one another. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick. I'm the Vice President of Urban Sketches, Membership Director, which is the same role, basically. And I'm from Singapore. And yeah, you can call me Pat. Actually, most of my good friends and sketchers back home, they call me Pat. So just want to give a little bit of an introduction to myself, and just to make sure that you know which class you're coming to. You could have been signing up for, you could have signed up for Janine's. So yeah, ways to start and grow a USK chapter in your local community. Yeah, so let me maybe just start with introducing a little bit more about myself, my story, how I personally got into urban sketching. It's an interesting story. It took a depression. Oh, can you hear me like this? Or is it recorded? Oh, no? Yeah? Can I walk?
Oh, should be recording. Yeah, I think it's just for you guys.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I like to be closer. Yeah, so for me, about 12 years ago now, 2011, I was doing my master's, and I don't know if you know what attention deficit disorder is. I have ADHD since I was a kid, right? And I found ways to cope, and always did okay for my work, because I would highlight my stuff, I would categorize my notes, I would do everything there is. But then when you go to tertiary and like your bachelor and master's, the amount of stuff you need to cover is so much, right? And I just basically push myself to fight and went to fun. That system didn't work. And what happened was, I was already a father of two. I was doing my mid-career, master's pursuit, and yeah, I went into depression, right? And it was that time that I discovered from a close friend of mine, whose wife was actually part of Urban Sketches Singapore, and she started like 2 years before. So what happened was, take a look at the Facebook group and the pictures and everything that they drew. I was completely blown away. Man, these people, that's a whole different way of discovering and showing Singapore. That was what I said. And 5 minutes later, I thought, I think I can do this. Because as a child, I used to sketch. Every single chance I get from the library, I would borrow books, diving, deep sea diving, scenes like this, scenery stuff, sharks, animals, whatever it is. Everything I could get my hands on, I would sketch. But then when I started going into the music industry, because I was involved in, I stopped doing that for a long time. And so, immediately that thing came back and said, maybe I could do this. And so I did. Right? I threw the hat over the fence, went in and joined the first sketch walk. And like they say, right, the rest is history. I met the most incredible, artistic, creative, and most welcoming people I ever met. And it was just such a wonderful thing. And the cool thing was, at the end of the first session, I actually had something good to look at, that made me feel really good about myself. And for those 2 hours that I was sketching, I had no ADHD, right? Yeah, and so that's the thing, and so what I did was I just threw myself into that world and continued to do that, and I was out of depression in just a few months, right? And because of the community, and because of, the process of sketching, therapeutic, qualities that it gave and provided, and so I came out of that. And it was because of that, I think I really, really believe in this community, in this global community of ours, right? Because, yeah, this is what it does. It brings us health. It brings us wealth in a different kind of way, right? We're rich in the sense that we see in the way that we see the world and everything. So, and that's why I'm giving back, for the last 12 years. I started off being involved as a sketch walk leader, right? And then, there was an opportunity when
when the symposium came around finally to Asia, and we bid for it. And then, I had the opportunity and the privilege to do what Eric is doing today, to organize the symposium as part of the local team. Yeah, and then it just went on from there. I became part of the admin, chapter admin, helping to organize and create this experience for people. And before I knew it, about 2016, 2017, I think, yeah, I was challenged to work, with a regional region, right, as a regional coordinator to work with chapter admins to help them grow their chapters. And long story short, and you fast forward, and then there was an opportunity presented, and Janine was like, hey, I'm going to be president next year. Would you want to consider being the membership director, which is actually, the same role as the VP, right? It's tied to the VP role. And so I was like, oh man, that's where my heart is, to build communities all over the world. And so here I am, but for today, as regional coordinator, there were many, many things that I have gleaned in the process. Opportunities to work with people, admins across different areas, troubleshooting issues with them, led in discussions, moderating and sometimes mediating disagreements and fights. Yes, they do happen, right? And things like that. What a privilege, it is to be able to work with some of these. And out of that, I was able to glean, a lot of things, about what it means to start and run a chapter like that. But it will be from that point of view of a chapter admin, some of you are, how many of you are chapter admins here? It's awesome. Thank you for serving your community, for taking on the burden of that. And for some of you, you may not be, but you're part of the community. And I'm hoping that, through what I've shared today, it might excite you to think about starting a community where you are and providing that same experience for other people. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. So what is an Urban Sketches chapter? Okay, basically it is a city-based localized community of urban sketches. What is Urban Sketches? We're a global network of artists who draw from observation on location and the cities that we live and places that we travel to. So who are we? What makes Urban Sketches Urban Sketches? It's found in our manifesto or our values, right? So this is who we are. And what this mix is our distinctive, is what sets us apart from most art groups that we may come across. We draw on location, indoors or out, capturing what we see from direct observation. Our drawings tell the story of our surroundings, the places we live and where we travel. Our drawings are a record of time and place. We are truthful to the scenes that we witness. We use any kind of media and cherish our individual styles. I mean, just look at the stuff that has been posted, right? Just in Travel Hub over the last few days. It's just incredible. We support each other and draw together. We share our drawing online. And of course, the tagline that we all know, we show our world one drawing at a time. So this is who we are. So what are some benefits, of being a part of an Urban Sketches chapter or being a part of an official one, right? We've got a lot of chapters that, been on the side. Yeah, I'm not sure if we want to really be plugged into that mothership, so to speak. Here are some reasons you might want to consider, okay, or benefits. If you are an official chapter, you're covered by Urban Sketches International Insurance Policy. We actually, in Asia, we have a loosely affiliated alliance, many chapters coming together, and we loosely called it Asia Link. It is not technically an Urban Sketches stuff, and one of the years during the pandemic, what happened was the registration process has to stop because we could not, proceed with the whole thing. And the person who was organizing it lost his wife to COVID, and was sick for himself for a long time, right? And in the mix of all these things, there was this whole money issues and everything that we could not, do anything about because it was not really covered. But then if you are a Urban Sketches official chapter, things like this, events that we organize that are approved, that are official Urban Sketches events, they're covered under insurance. So only.
Oh, sorry, what kind of things does that mean? Was it individual stumbles over a log, or what are they insured for?
There could be things like this, incidences, or it could be sometimes, where cancellation of events, or where something happened and, we were not able to get back deposits and whatnot, and things like that. Yeah. Later on, I'm going to share with you a chapter's handbook that's made for our chapter admins. And what I'd like for you to do is then to go take a look. A lot of the things are detailed there. And yeah, so we won't have to talk about that right now. Thanks for the question. So yeah, so official chapter events are eligible to be promoted on urbansketches.org, which is our website, and through the USk social media and official chapters. They are also listed on the chapter map at urbansketches.org. A network of peers is available for chapter administrators via the regional admins Google group. Basically we have a sense of support. Oh, there's a typo there. Yeah, a supportive network of people that can exchange ideas and, ask a question if they need to. And, it reaches everybody. And so, we're in touch that way. Official chapters are given preference for hosting events, example, workshops and symposiums. And they are listed on the chapter map and urbansketches.org. I can show you the web later. I don't want to get out of this for now. So now that there are these benefits, and if you're not a chapter and you want to apply, how do you go about doing that? The simplest way I can tell you is just one email away. Okay, this is the email. Take a photo of it if you want to, write it down somewhere, okay? And it makes sense. It just says membership at urbansketches.org, okay? Write to Javier, our coordinator, our membership coordinator, and he will reply you and help you and guide you through the process of doing that, okay? It's not that complicated a process, and yeah, and we're improving it. Okay. So let's move on. So some of you are here because you're chapter admins and you would like to, have ideas on how to grow your chapter. And I'm going to be sharing from the perspective of course, some of the things that I've heard from, in the regions that we've met or seen people do, and as well as some of the things that we've done, are still doing in Urban Sketches Singapore. Okay. I think, if I'm not wrong, there's about 5 points. One is build a strong team of admin or administrators, okay, united and committed to goals set together. I cannot overemphasize this. When you have,
Is that a recommended number of admins?
do we have a?
Recommended number of admins that should be held?
There is no specific recommended number, but there is a minimum that we require for an official chapter, and that's 3. Okay, and they must not be related to one another in the same family. Yeah.
3 and you're in.
3 and you're in. Well, barring other, considerations in the vetting processes and everything, right? So it's a whole list of things. Again, it's going to be detailed in the handbook that, I'm going to show you later on. And if you're whether you're an official or an unofficial one, if you want to request to be one, you also get a adapted version of that, so as to help you to be able to do, that whole process and things like that. Okay, so 3, and the reason why they must not be related to one another or be in the same family is because if the family moves, there goes that chapter, right? So they have to be, not related to each other, so that somebody else can carry on the thing. But there's no upper limit per se. It depends on just how much activity is going on in your chapter and how big the chapter is and factors like that. And from all the history that, I've come across, this factor is huge, okay? I know that there are many ways to run a chapter, and sometimes chapters, they run pretty loosely in the sense that there isn't a real core, and it's just, for them, it's just about sketch walk. Somebody just throws up a date, or if those who can make it, they just go for it. But there are other chapters who work together to create a more, fuller experience and things like that, okay? So most of these chapters, including, as I was walking back from dinner with Eric yesterday, I was saying what a great team this was, the way that they put, don't you think so? A round of applause for the team. Yeah. So they're so tight. I think they ran it way better than we did in Singapore all those years back. And it's amazing. And one of the things that Eric said was this, it's like, well, it's the same core team that was formed, how many years ago now? 11 years ago, Steve and Murray, right? And then and himself. And there might be other people who came in and joined in the fray, but it was based on that solid trust and relationship that they had. They were committed to the same goal. It sort of progressed along the way, but then, it became what it is today because there was a strong core and foundation. And it is the same story in Singapore. And I know some of the chapters in India that are doing really well. They share the same DNA. Okay, so that was a strong core team or a strong team of administrators. And then second thing to take note of is, I know it is about sketching, right? But in our community, in this whole global community of urban sketchers, it is as much about the people as it is about the art that we do, right? So, yeah. So sketches don't make a community. Sketchers do. Okay? Sketches don't make a community, sketchers do. At the end of the day, basically, it's all about connection. I have to move along quickly, okay? It's about building that community and building that sense of camaraderie, whether it's globally at symposiums or whether it's locally. It's about that. It's about spending time together, doing the art thing that we love, and sometimes traveling together and so on and so forth. Okay. So the third point is a stable staple of fun activities and meaningful engagement, to keep things going. That's really important in building, a healthy chapter. Activities like, at the very baseline, we know we're here to sketch, so all organizing sketch crawls and sketch walks, they are part of the entire experience. In fact, it's a very central part of the entire experience. Okay. And in the Singapore chapter, we welcome people from all walks of life and all age groups. We've got people, as young as my kids at that time, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, to, people in their late 80s and things like that. And when it comes to events, regularity is key because, when you have a certain cadence to your meeting and people can expect, to see and, to experience things. Like, for example, in Urban Sketches Singapore, the last Saturday, it's become known worldwide that the last Saturday is when we meet in the morning. And so a lot of people, when we want to come to Singapore, they actually plan to be there on the last Saturday of the month. Okay, and variety is also important to keep things interesting. And with that, we've got experiences, special projects, like sometimes we organize exhibitions. We work together with government agencies like the National Library Board, the National Museum of Singapore, the Heritage Board, the Urban Redevelopment Board, so on and so forth. Initially, it was us seeking to work with them. Over the years, it has turned around. They started looking for us to do stuff with them because we've gained such notoriety, right? So more special projects. Things like, working on a project together, like collating and curating all the works together and tell your story, okay, through books or publications. We organize workshops from time to time. We go on the streets, and this is sort of one of the ways that we do outreaches to the public too, is when we organize public workshops so people can join us. Sometimes we invite, masters to come and do demos at our sketch walks. And these are things that will really draw people. And we do special outreaches too, because you want to get them when they're young. You want to expose them to the whole joy of urban sketching. And so we got invited sometimes, to schools to talk to students in art, either in art CCA or extracurricular activities, or sometimes they are from art students in the school. Okay, so we take them out on a sketch walk around the school compound, and then let them trade stories just to get them excited. And there were opportunities for us to also go out there and share our love for urban sketching over radio, on TV. Okay. And of course, when you get a chance to do something big together, these are really momentum builders and they're community builders. We were a bit hesitant. Madam Tia, who founded the chapter of Singapore, right? So she was like, we got to get them here, to Singapore, right? And so all of us just jumped in and say, yes, let's do it. Okay. And so in 2015, during our 50th anniversary, we hosted the 6th symposium, international symposium. And the cool thing about this is that it was bigger than all of us, right? And it was something bigger than ourselves. And because of doing that, because of jumping head in, we became a really, really tight team as a result. So doing something like that actually helps a lot, so throw your head over the fence. Okay, seeking collaboration. And by that, I mean, there are ways to do it. Time out? Okay. Okay. So we've had opportunities to give back to society, by helping raise funds for orphanages. And in this case, this was a school, not school, this was a home, a recovery home for girls, young girls who have been abused at home. And the home is no longer a safe place. And so what happened was they actually commissioned me to do an art piece for the guest of honor, right? And so I said yes without even, a single hesitation. I didn't even know who the guest of honor was. I just said, I was an abused child myself, right? I knew that. I know that it takes a lot to get out of that, so it just makes sense to me. And then later on, I found out that the guest of honor was actually the president of Singapore at that time. And so this piece of art actually sits in the White House of Singapore. Okay. And then the funny thing was, on the day when we were supposed to present the art to the president, I was not free. I was off to Penang for another regional event. And sorry, President, you've got to wait, sketching first. And so my wife went, and my wife met him, instead of me. And so you see, she was holding a piece like that. I sent them a high-res copy, and I asked them to make like 50 copies or something, and each of those copies were auctioned off for over $1,000. For people who give above $1,000, so it raised a certain significant amount of money. And there were other ones that, we were involved in as a chapter. And these are good because, people love to do what they do, but then when they know that what they do get to benefit somebody else, it's just, double blessings. Okay. Going on trips together is one example. It doesn't have to always be an overseas trip. It could just be to another town, to another state, or something like that. Okay. There's something about traveling together, when you're 24 hours with each other, doing what you love, it just builds that bond. Okay. And then finding kindred spirits. And when I'm saying that, my frame of mind was actually what I have in mind was actually like fellow chapter leaders, because these are the ones who understand what we go through, the frustrations and sometimes challenges or the thanklessness of doing that job, so to speak. Okay, and you can see Alvin there. We go way back. In fact, when we were in Singapore doing our symposium, he was the one who printed the entire banner. We didn't even think of that. And he printed the entire banner and stickers and everything, and it brought to Singapore to bless us with it. So, such things. Okay, and finally, a very important thing in the life of a chapter is to think about succession. I don't mean succession in the sense that, like there's a leadership structure per se, or that you are, the boss and then somebody to succeed you, but to make sure that there's, another rung of, or the next generation of people who could, take over from running the chapter. So success without succession is a failure. Something I learned from some leadership book. So we field our young sketchers early, okay, and get them excited. They are the energetic ones, but they're young and they're inexperienced. And so we start with something like, hey, let's organize the sketch walk, and why don't you lead that sketch walk, right? Brief people, do the throwdown together and things like that. And we actually are very intentional in guiding them in terms of spending time with them. And then we progress from leading sketchwalk to teaching them how to negotiate partnerships with government agencies and things like that, the pitfalls to avoid, things like that, so that they can do the thing. And then eventually let them run it. Basically, feel them, And the thing is this, when you've done it for a while, just, at the back of your hand what to do. Sometimes it takes a dip when you let a younger team to do it. It gets worse before it gets better. But if you don't let them try, they will never grow. Right. So so that's what we do. And yeah. So, okay. Just the last bit. Chapter admin attitude and perspective. I think this is really important as we consider ourselves being chapter admins, and you want to grow a chapter. Getting sorted out who we are and why we do what we do. They matter. Okay, because we want to do it for the right reasons. If you don't do it for the right reasons, you will not sustain. Okay. One of my favorite quotes, the heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. It's where it's coming from. Okay. We're doing this. We want to be, running chapters or organizing things, not because we want power, not because we want a recognition, not because we want control, not because we want fame. And not but because it is worth doing and because you believe in it. Okay. And it's, as a leaving thought, it's one of the things that we always say to each other in the EV, it's that I just the other day, Janine and I mean, when we were starting the whole thing and saw so many of you after that, we took the picture and it's like, we get to do this. It's not we got to do this, but we get to do this. Okay. So this is my Instagram. If you would like to check out my stuff, you can just go ahead and So, but if you've got questions, you're free to ask. Do we have time even for that? Okay. And I think I would like to. So this is the handbook that we are working on. I don't know if you can see this. Let me. Yeah. Okay. So we've been working on it for a while now, trying to perfect it. And in here, when we send it out, you're going to receive this, and you have all these topics covered. What is an urban sketches chapter, sketching groups, aspiring, the Club Express, which is a back-end system, handling some of the administrative stuff, social media, events, how do you organize a local event, a regional event, an international event, education, how do you host a workshop, instructors, sponsorship issues and matters, things like that, executive board, so on and so forth. Okay, so a lot of these informations will be there, and what we require of you, if you're already a chapter admin right now, when we send this to you, what we would like for you to do is to read this thing in its entirety, finish it, and then there is actually a link here for a Google form that says, yes, I have read the entire USk chapter handbook. We need to know that you have.